All right, thank you very much for your testimony. Now we're going to go to the remaining 6 bills. Many people have signed up to testify on all 6 remaining bills, or 7 in total. Some have only signed up for one. Representative Perez is not available, or at least we can't get a hold of him. So what I'd like to do is our distinguished colleague, Representative McLaughlin, I can see is on the WebEx, but I'm not sure he's available. Why don't we do this, David? Oh, here he is. Oh, Representative McLaughlin's here. So this is House Bill 5996, sponsored by Representative McLaughlin. It's a House resolution recognizing the fetus as a human life upon the existence of a heartbeat. Representative McLaughlin, the floor is yours. I hope you're feeling better. Jim, you've got to unmute yourself. There's a button on your computer. There you go. Oh, no, you just had it, now it went away. There it goes. Now you're available.
We're available. Okay,
thank you.
In reference to my first heartbeat bill, it's been heard year after year. What I'd like to reiterate once again, since Roe versus Wade, 1973, 68 million children have been aborted. What this bill represents is, it represents the scientific data that has been established since then. And they didn't even have ultrasound then, in reference to that. And the period of gestation, which represents pregnancies. And from week 13 to 21, basically what's going on is the heart is being formed, okay? And that's why I call it the first heartbeat bill. Your heart, as you know, and I know from a couple of weeks ago, represents life. Okay, you have 4 chambers in that heart, separate and apart from anybody else's. And once that starts pumping, that represents life. And I would just like to see if we can't establish and define, a period of life, because it seems like the Supreme Courts, state courts, haven't been able to do this. Pro-choice people will tell you, basically, it's a fetus. It's in developmental stages. What I'd like to tell you is, once that ticker stops pumping, okay, or it starts from, I would say from the womb to the tomb, okay, that heart is with you. It's separate and apart from the mother, all right? There's no one heartbeat set forth, that it's an individual, it's basically a human being with an individual personality and characteristics independent of the mother. Okay, they would argue that basically this individual is, dependent upon the mother. I would say, although some of this is true, once that heartbeat starts beating, okay, it's separate and apart from. It is a unique individual set forth on its journey for life, and I would ask you to consider, you and the committee, to consider basically declaring, the first heartbeat, as the premeditating factors for life. with that, I'll conclude. If you have any questions, I certainly appreciate it. And I didn't get a chance, but I want to respectfully, wish you guys a belated happy Easter.
And I know I speak for the whole committee, Jim, when I say that we're all wishing you well. I know you've had a little bump in the road there, but you're a tough guy. You're a cork in the ocean, so nothing's going to keep you down.
I'm good for another 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
They fixed the plumbing, so.
Yeah, I think you're a million-mile car. That's my feeling. All right. Any questions for Jim? Seeing none, we'll go on to Representative Place's bill, House Bill 5865. It's an act related to health and safety. Rhode Island Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act. It creates the Rhode Island Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act, prohibiting the performance or induction of an abortion of an unborn child capable of feeling pain unless necessary to prevent serious health risks to the unborn child's mother. And Representative Place, the floor is yours, and then we'll call your expert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, as always, you do a very good job of explaining the legislation. Probably the only detailed item not in there necessarily in terms of the legislation is generally accepted. The point in time in which they've recognized unborn children being able to feel pain in the womb is around the 20-week mark. The legislation is written to allow the doctor or the providing physician to determine that period of time. So with that, I'll take any questions.
If there are any questions for the sponsor, can we get his expert on the phone? Holly Taylor Kuhlman.
Mr. Chairman, would it be okay? She was also interested in testifying on several other pieces of legislation as well.
Sure, we have her on the phone. We won't.
Thank you.
Let her testify on them all. She's available? Holly, are you on the air?
I'm here.
Okay. I called your name up with reference to Representative Place's bill, which is the Rhode Island Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act, but I understand that you want to testify on other bills that may not have even been introduced. Please feel free to do so. You can proceed with your testimony.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today, even at a distance. And actually, what I'd like to do is to take up just a few minutes of time to speak in support of three bills. House Bills number 5037, 5579, and 5582. I hope that's okay.
It is.
All of these are proposed pieces of legislation related to the obligation to provide reasonable medical care to any infant who is born alive. So again, I'll just speak briefly. I come to give testimony today as a professor of theology and the current chair of the theology department at Providence College. My life work, in other words, is studying and teaching ethical questions, including a focus on human dignity and the social connections that respect that dignity. And I also come today as someone who lives and works and, together with my husband, is raising 5 children here in the Ocean State. All 5 of our children came to our family by adoption, and we are proud and blessed to have fostered and then adopted one of our children from Rhode Island State Care. In fact, as our family prepares for the wedding of our oldest child this fall, I'm now, for the first time, if I could just give a brief personal note, beginning to envision not only having children, but perhaps even grandchildren who are Rhode Islanders, who are deeply affected by what we build together in the Ocean State. So for all these reasons, I speak to you today as somebody who is concerned about the quality of care that we, as a state, provide to our youngest and most vulnerable children. I want to begin by saying that although I understand why it is that various pieces of Born Alive legislation are often grouped together with and thought of together with legislation related to abortion, I believe that it can be misleading to do that. Because here the ground shifts dramatically. Abortion law, of course, has to do with the question of whether, when, and how it should be legal to take a human life in the situation of a pregnancy. At the moment a child is born, of course, there is no situation of pregnancy. And the fact of the matter is that there simply is no reason to deny a child born alive the same care that we will provide to any child. In fact, I will say it a little bit more emphatically. We owe it to that child in the same way that we would owe it to any child to remove the child from the care of adults who are not willing to provide protection and care, and to find those who are. As an adoptive parent, as a former foster mother, I can assure you that there are potential parents waiting for any child in any situation. There are those waiting, ready to care for profoundly disabled children. There are those waiting, ready to care for terminally ill children. There are those of us, frankly, who count the care of children as a privilege that we're given, even when it does involve very demanding work. As a society, I believe that the way that we treat the most vulnerable is a kind of bellwether of our larger values. Rhode Island should be a place where we are especially concerned with the vulnerable, including the elderly, the unhoused, those who are food insecure, and others. And it should be a place where we are especially concerned with the most vulnerable population of all, the smallest children who are depending on us entirely to give them what they need. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you very much, Holly. Any questions of the witness? All right, seeing none, I'll take this opportunity to put the four Representative Perez's bills in play, and then we'll proceed to the online testimony, which we will be limiting to 2 minutes each. The first one is 5037. It's an act related to health and safety, Born Alive Infant Protection Act. It enacts the Born Alive Infant Protection Act and provides for the duties and obligations of medical personnel under such circumstances. The next bill is 5552, also sponsored by Representative Perez. It's an act related to business and professions, specifically the Board of Medical Licensure and Discipline. It makes an unprofessional conduct for a physician not to take all reasonable steps to ensure that a viable fetus being carried by their parent is brought to term. The next is 5579, sponsored again by Representative Perez. It's an act related to criminal offenses, specifically children. It'd be a crime for medical personnel to provide reasonable medical care to a newborn baby. And the last is 5582, also sponsored by Representative Perez. It's an act related to health and safety, Born Alive Infant Protection Act. It enacts the Born Alive Infant Protection Act and provides for the duties and obligations of medical personnel under certain circumstances. So those all bills are now in play, and I would ask that, Chris, that we go to the first witness at the top of the list that we will deal with. Thank you. Welcome. You're on the air. You're in front of the House Judiciary Committee. You'll have 2 minutes to testify.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I'll keep it brief because I'm also volunteering at the Providence Vaccine Clinic. But my name is Jacqueline Goldman. I am a citizen of Providence. I'm someone with gestational capabilities, and I also work in public health. And I want to really oppose the Born Alive Infant Protection, the Born Alive Infant Act, as well as the fetal heartbeat ban and the fetal pain So we know that these are bad markers of when an abortion should happen. We should be making reproductive choice easier for people with gestational capabilities and not harder. Also, if you look at these bills, they have really high penalties and are kind of, just sort of unconscionable in ways that they criminalize basic medicine. And then I do support the bill that's being heard on giving people the ability to make their own decisions about their life in terms of the act for euthanasia. Sorry, I'm really all over the place because lots going on. But yeah, just want to stress strong opposition to the anti-choice bills. And that's all.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Any questions from this witness? The next witness, please. Okay. Hello, Karen. Are you with us?
Yes, I am.
You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Okay, good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Karen Tully. I live in North Situate, and I support the Lila Manfield Sapinsley Compassionate Care Act. I've heard people express concerns about missing out on time with a loved one if this act was in place, but from my experience, that would not have been true. People do have hope until the end is very near. My mother, Sandra, had battled pancreatic cancer for 3 years, and even when the diagnosis was at 3 months, she wouldn't have chosen to end her life because she was still able to walk a bit, to eat, to engage in family activities, so there was still hope in her mind. But that eventually changed. I know when my mother would have taken the medicine, it was 3 weeks before her death, and she was crying when she said to me, "I just want to die." She was in the hospital. There was a tube they inserted into her liver in hopes to give her another month, but it wasn't working. She then went into hospice where, although the first week was painful, she was at least able to communicate, and maybe that 1 week would have been too early if I was thinking in terms of how I wanted more time. But that 1 week, I would have given up to not witness what I did in the following 2 weeks. She was not able to eat anymore or leave the bed, so her body started to deteriorate. Her mind started to as well, and she didn't make sense anymore when she spoke, which visibly upset her. And by the last week of her life, she was not able to communicate with words anymore, just groans, and she would scream out in pain whenever she was moved in any way. Those who believe the suffering is not that extreme because of pain medications must be the ones fortunate enough to view their loved ones as they're resting under the covers, just lying there, as my brother did when he would visit. But I was needed to help the nurses hold and move my mother to clean her. I'll never forget, a few days before she died, I tilted her sideways and held her in my arms so the nurses could clean her, and she screamed in my ear the entire time. And while she screamed, I looked down at her body and saw what I'd only seen in pictures before of the Holocaust. Her deathly thin body was riddled with bruises on her paper-thin skin as she screamed in my ear and tears ran down her eyes. When the nurse was done, I gently put her down and carefully peeled my hands off her back because I was afraid her skin might come off with my hands. It was so thin. I went as quickly as possible down the hall to the bathroom so my mother couldn't hear me cry, and I thought, people must not really know. They can't really know because I didn't know what people went through until I saw it with my own eyes. She died anyway, but she had to starve to death. It's 2021. We had the means 2 years ago to let her go to sleep 3 weeks earlier, to not force her to suffer in that way. And we're so afraid of ending life too soon, but what we need to be afraid of is what I saw in the last 2 weeks of my mother's life. I can't imagine being trapped in my own body, screaming in pain while my loved ones are tortured forever by what they see. And if I knew she had a choice and she chose to not take the medicine, I could have maybe accepted her suffering. I would have known it was her choice. But instead, I live with the guilt of not fighting for her right to choose sooner. There comes
Karen,
a point where we have
try to wrap it up, please.
I am. There comes a point where we have to accept that we're only human, that there's no hope when all our organs are in failure and bile is spewing out of an unmendable hole in our sides. The greatest thing about this law is you don't have to use it, but allows others who have different beliefs to do so. This law makes it possible for all of us to follow what we believe. Everyone wins, and everyone can have peace in their own way. So I urge you to vote in favor of this act. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Karen, for your testimony, and I feel for your pain and the pain your mother went through, so very sorry to hear of your loss. Any questions of this witness? Seeing none, we'll have the next witness. Hello, sir. Emily, are you with us?
Hi.
Hi.
I am.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thanks so much. I'm going to try to be brief. I timed it to just 2 minutes. So today I would like to use my time to speak on behalf of people who are so often unheard in our political system, our young people. For close to a decade, I have worked as a high school teacher here in Rhode Island. In that time, I have taught sexually active high school students who desperately ask me the most basic of questions about how babies are made during my earth science class, because our public education system has failed to teach them about contraception and sex in real, modern, and culturally attuned ways. Lack of education is a current obstacle to healthcare in Rhode Island. I have witnessed a student write a research paper expressing that abortion access is an important bodily right, and then later witnessed that same student unable to get the abortion that she wanted when a regional health clinic accidentally gave her the wrong information because they incorrectly assumed that she was calling from Connecticut and not Rhode Island. Lack of care and lack of support are current obstacles to healthcare in the state of Rhode Island. I have witnessed students unable to get an abortion because they did not have the support socially, emotionally, or financially to take 3 city buses alone to get to one of the few clinics where they could have an abortion done. Systematic inequality and lack of access are obstacles to our healthcare here in Rhode Island. Many of these bills proposed today would create even more barriers at a time when we must be working to remove the ones that still exist. Young people may still be becoming accustomed to their maturing bodies and therefore less likely to notice even the early subtle signs of pregnancy. Even if able to notice the pregnancy, young people may be misinformed, in denial, or too nervous about such a hugely important reality to act as quickly as these bills insist that they must. Many of our young people are too young to vote against these actions themselves, but these laws and realities will affect them regardless. Our young people need our support. They need us to knock down the barriers that still stand between them and the ability to control their own bodies and the futures that they hold. These bills chip away at our bodily rights, and as an educator, I see how these bills unfairly hurt the children that I'm privileged to care about daily. Representatives, in closing up right now, please loudly reject these harmful bills. Abortion is very much health care, and I thank you for your support on behalf of our kids.
Thank you, Emily, for your testimony. Any questions of
Thank you.
this witness? Seeing none, we'll take the next witness. Candace, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Candace. Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. My name is Candace Brown Casey, and I'm a resident of Cranston, Rhode Island. I'm calling in today to oppose H5865, 5996, 5552, 5579, 5037, and 5582. First of all, it seems inappropriate that this hearing is about a very common and necessary healthcare procedure, but it's being heard by Judiciary and not by the Health Subcommittee. But I'm opposed to these bills because they just serve to further stigmatize and make it harder for people who need abortions to access them. Abortions are a part of healthcare for pregnant people, whether the pregnancy was intended or not. The decision to have an abortion should be nobody's besides a woman, her family, and her doctor. And these are unnecessary bills that seek to interfere with the law of Rhode Island and the United States, where abortion is legal. I firmly oppose these bills. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Candace. Any questions of this witness? Seeing none, next witness, please. Samantha? Hello, are you with us today? Who's on the line? Do we know who's on the line?
Hello?
Samantha? Samantha, are you with us?
Yes, that is me.
Oh, great.
Yes, hello.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Hello, and thank you, members of the Judiciary Committee, for listening to me this afternoon. My name is Samantha, and I'm a resident of Providence. And I'm calling today to strongly encourage you to vote against House Bills 5037, 5582, 5552, 5579, 5865, and 5996. These bills all serve a single purpose, which is why I'm grouping them together as opposed to stating a testimony of them separately, which is to limit the rights of women and people who can become pregnant to control their own bodies, and in addition to criminalize medical professionals for performing basic medical procedures. Roe v. Wade is the law of our country, and not only that, the Reproductive Privacy Act protects abortion in our own state as a valid and important medical procedure. These 6 bills serve to limit access and punish those who seek this safe, legal, and necessary care by defining a child as born alive regardless of the state of gestational development, which is incredibly dangerous and unscientific, forcing medical professionals to enable viable fetuses to be brought to term regardless of the carrier's choice, charging medical professionals with criminal liability for disposal of aborted fetuses, as well as outright seeking to outlaw abortion past 20 weeks, and even as early as 18 days after fertilization, a date so early many do not even know they are pregnant. I strongly encourage you to vote no on all 6 of these bills. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Samantha. Next witness, please. Hello, welcome to House Judiciary. Could you identify yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Linda Fain.
Welcome, Linda. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Okay, I just want to let you know that I 1,000% support the bill to be able, if I know I am dying, to get physician assistance. Me and most of my friends, all we can think about is that we're going to have to go to Vermont instead of being with our families if this should happen to us. I am a volunteer at hospice, and my partner of 30 years died at home with hospice in Texas. All I know is that this, to me, would have made his life so much happier at the end if he could have had some control over when he died, instead of going through the trauma of dying over a period of months. I just hope so much, and I adored Lila Sapinsley, and I just hope so much that you will really consider this for, basically for all your loved ones who want to have that ability.
This is the, I guess the rep's going, so we bumped her up, we call.
Thank you, Linda. Oh, excuse me, Representative Agello has a question.
Linda, are you still there?
Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you for calling, and thank you for hanging in. I'm with you. We're gonna make it so we don't have to go to Vermont.
Okay.
I really, or Oregon, you know, I don't want to do that. Please, please, let us have control over our lives, and I thank you so much for doing this and for working on this, all of you that are. I appreciate it. And my children will appreciate it, believe me.
Thank you, Linda. Next witness, please. Hello, Savannah, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
So you're Terry Coffrin's daughter, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Well, welcome to House Judiciary. You have the floor, and you have 2 minutes. Please proceed. And very nice to hear from you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for hearing my testimony today. I am in strong support of Bill 5572, which allows for medical aid in dying in Rhode Island. My support for this bill comes from my own personal experience. When I was 12, my father was diagnosed with a brutal form of cancer, and by the time I was 13, it was more than evident that he was going to die, which he did at the age of 43. To provide a visual, he was 6'5" and close to 300 pounds at the height of his life. When he died, he had shrunken in height and was close to about 180 pounds, if not less, and his sense of self was completely diminished by his disease each day that he fought it. It disintegrated his body and personality, and watching him suffer through that was very traumatic for me and my family. He was in so much pain at the end, and my entire family was in their own emotional pain waiting for his death. If we had opportunity for medical aid in dying, I believe we would have taken that step. It would have allowed him to die with dignity and in less pain, and it would have provided me and my family some closure. I was lucky enough to be able to say goodbye to him on the day of his death, but he was no longer cognizant and he could not respond. I've had to go purely on faith that he heard the words I shared with him that day, and I've had to provide myself the words of solace that I think he would have said in return had he been present in that moment. If I had been able to mindfully share a goodbye with him and to hear him return my sentiments, that would have meant everything to me. It would have given me a lot of comfort, and it would have been a real blessing for my family. I know this bill can't take away grief that comes with loss. It's an inevitable part. But if we can lessen the trauma that family members experience when they have someone who's dying of a terminal illness, then we definitely should. Thank you, Representative Agello, for putting this bill forward again.
Thank you.
And thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Savannah, for your very meaningful and difficult testimony. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any questions from the committee? Thank you very much. Next witness, please. Hello, are you with us?
I am.
Could you please identify yourself?
Yes, I'm Giuseppe Butera. I'm an associate professor of philosophy at Providence College.
Thank you, Giuseppe. This is House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you. I'm just going to read a statement. So I am opposed to H 5572 for a number of reasons, but 2 I'd especially like to bring to your attention are the following. First, since it is always wrong to intentionally kill an innocent person, it is also wrong to help an innocent person kill himself. And 2, second, as I argued in my March 4th, 2021 Providence Journal op-ed, which I've provided to the committee, sent it in, attached to an email. History has taught us that limits placed on access to assisted suicide tend only to expand, never to contract. In my op-ed, I noted that the Canadian Parliament was considering expanding access to assisted suicide and euthanasia for the non-terminally ill. I'm sorry to say that since then, in the intervening few weeks since then, the Canadian Parliament did just that. And now it is set to debate expanding access to mature teens. These are non-terminal mature teens. So imagine teens that are suffering from depression, for example. We should learn from Canada's dangerous legal experiment and reaffirm our commitment to defend every innocent life up to the moment of natural death. Anything less is to invite an almost limitless expansion of assisted suicide and, with that expansion, eventually the legalization of euthanasia. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Giuseppe, for your testimony. Next witness, please. Hello, Megan, are you with us?
I am. Thank you.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Yes, I want to put my voice out there to say that I think that any bills that come forward to limit the availability for safe abortions increases the disparity in health care and possible economics for women in particular and also minorities, and that it is not something that we should be considering for the health of mothers or children. And as I said, this is an unfair and disproportionate responsibility that comes down on women and minorities in our community. I think in the long run, it does not increase our health, but takes away from it, and that we should not be limiting the ability for prenatal care, whether it includes abortions or not.
Well, thank you very
much. That's all I
much.
have to say at this point. Sorry.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next witness, please.
And as I said,
Hello, would you please identify yourself?
Daria Montequilla.
Oh, Darren, welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you. I'll make this quick. My name is Daria Montequilla, and I'm on the board of directors for the Women Project, which is a statewide organization focused on leveraging the power of art, activism, advocacy, and education to advance the principles of reproductive justice. I am submitting testimony in very strong opposition to the relevant 6 bills, which use inflammatory claims about how labor and delivery care and how abortion care is provided. We have seen legislation like this before that meddle with health services and push truly ridiculous rhetoric to demean and denigrate abortion providers and people who seek abortion. I'd like to say that we are concerned by the implication that licensed doctors would ever withhold care from any infant. It is insulting and dangerous to imply that this is happening. Abortion providers are trained and compassionate professionals doing their best to help patients in spite of frequent harassment and violence. This bill is meant to disparage them and to lay the groundwork to take away all access to abortion, and we know who that harms most, people who are pushed to the margins who are already struggling to obtain affordable quality health services. Anti-abortion politicians across the country have attempted to pass several abortion bans in recent years. This bill is just another tactic in their quest to make abortion completely inaccessible or even illegal. This bill has no grounding in reality, and this non-existent situation is offensive and dangerous. Instead of respecting every person's decision, anti-abortion politicians are resorting to fake, false rhetoric to distract from their true agenda, to push abortion care out of reach and punish patients and their providers. There are politicians who do not want abortion to be available in any circumstances. They create bills that play on the worst lies to restrict or outright ban abortion. If we really cared about the lives or health of women and families in our state, there are so many policies that would truly help. Attempts to take away access to health care or to denigrate health providers are not helping anyone. I'm writing to strongly oppose this bill and call it what it is, another political game being played on the backs of women and families in Rhode Island. These bills unnecessarily place politicians between a woman and her doctor. Numerous healthcare organizations representing thousands of clinicians oppose these bills, including...
Daria, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you very
much. Your time is up. Thank you. Next witness, please. Hello, could you please identify yourself? Welcome to House Judiciary.
Sure. Hi, my name is Amanda Pachamanarong of Riverside, Rhode Island.
Welcome, Amanda. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, representatives and members of the House Judiciary Committee. My name is Amanda Pachamanarong of Riverside, Rhode Island, and I am an honorably discharged naval veteran with 8 years of service. As an undergrad just accepted to grad school, I found out I was pregnant at 8 weeks gestation. I didn't find out until then because missing a period on hormonal contraceptives is normal and common, so I didn't think anything of it when I missed one. Had the medical care provided to me by my local Planned Parenthood not been available at that time to give me the mifepristone I needed to abort the unexpected failure of my primary birth control, I wouldn't have been able to complete my bachelor's, master's degrees, and I wouldn't have been in physical shape to go defend you and this country when so many citizens don't want to pick up their hand and even try. I would not be where I am today, and neither would that cluster of cells these bills are looking to redefine based off of zero factual medical or scientific evidence. These bills are nothing but a personal attack on women's rights to their own personal health and well-being on the backs of misguided and uninformed members of this committee, pushing to further their own personal viewpoints and political agendas, and by no means represents the basic human rights and views of females within this state. I urge you to vote no in opposition of these nonsensical, draconian bills that do nothing but regress the rights, health, and safety of every female in the state of Rhode Island. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony, and thank you for your service.
My pleasure.
Next witness, please. Hello, Tammy, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Tammy Brown. I'm one of the board of directors of the Women Project. I am testifying in very strong opposition to H5865 and H5996, which could take away all access to abortion as early as 6 to 8 weeks. Rhode Island voters have made it very clear that they support the right to abortion and believe we should all be able to make our own decisions about our bodies, planning our families, and that we should control our own futures. Many people do not even know they're pregnant at 6 or 8 weeks, and with the significant systemic barriers that women of color, low-income women, and young women face in getting access to health services, it's that much harder for people living on the margins to get into a clinic to confirm a pregnancy and talk through their options. That means attacks like this one fall hardest on people who are already struggling with health disparities. These bills also dabble into questions of when life begins, a profoundly personal decision which we must make for ourselves based on our own beliefs and our own traditions. People of different religious traditions, as well as people within the same religion, hold varying views on this matter. We should not allow lawmakers to impose their own beliefs on others or in order to take away a healthcare procedure. Abortion is healthcare. We should be working to eliminate barriers to the full range of services people need, not put up more obstacles. Rhode Islanders want to see us protect personal decisions and access to safe medical care and not put up more barriers. They want to see us close the gaps in the ability to afford the services we need. They do not want bills like this that deny a personal decision and bodily autonomy. We urge you to vote no on this harmful legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy, for your testimony. Next witness, please.
No.
Representative Agello.
Well, we're waiting for someone to be called and able to testify on the phone. I just would like to read a 3-sentence statement from the Rhode Island Medical Society.
Please proceed.
Regarding 5572. The Rhode Island Medical Society has adopted a neutral stance on this legislation. We feel it is important for open public dialogue on the issue of end-of-life care. We appreciate Representative Agello's efforts and thank her for stimulating the much-needed public discussion that ultimately impacts everyone. I wanted to read that last sentence.
Oh, thank you very much, Representative Agello. Next witness? Stephen? Stephen, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
I just wanted to say I'm in support of the Baby Born Alive Act. That's all I wanted to say. I'm in support of that.
Well, thank you for your testimony. Short and sweet.
Yes.
Next witness, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we're trying to get people on the phone, so anybody who's watching or listening. Have a happy Friday. Trying to get people on the phone. Hello, Barbara.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Okay. My name is Barbara Fisher. I'm from Warren. I would like to encourage all members of the Judiciary Committee to please support the multiple pro-life bills that are before them now. I believe that even those members that support legalized abortion should be able to acknowledge that the unborn deserve some protection under the law. And that's it.
Well, thank you very much for your testimony.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Next witness, please. Hello, doctor, are you with us?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Would you please identify yourself, and welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
All right, thank you so much. I'm Dr. Jillian Chase. I'm a resident in obstetrics and gynecology at Women and Infants, speaking today on behalf of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony today in opposition to the abortion-related bill. As a physician, it's my primary responsibility to provide safe care that is the standard of care for all of my patients. Our priority is to keep pregnant patients safe and the women of Rhode Island safe. We should all be able to make our own personal, private healthcare decisions without politicians standing in the way. These bills pose a serious threat to women's health, ignoring women's individual needs and circumstances and seeking to ban or significantly restrict abortion in the state of Rhode Island. The sponsors of these bills seek to deny a woman the dignity to make personal and private decisions. Every woman faces her own unique circumstances, challenges, and potential complications. A patient, a resident of Rhode Island I saw recently in the emergency room came in at 22 weeks with her water broken and a serious infection inside of her uterus. It was impossible for her to continue the pregnancy without serious threat to her life. We needed to have the very challenging, emotional discussion with her about ending her pregnancy to save her life, even though her fetus would not survive. Faced with the restrictions, if some of these bills became law, I would not have been able to do that. When politicians attack healthcare, they disproportionately impact those who already face barriers to healthcare, people of color, immigrants, women, the LGBTQ community, people with low incomes, people with disabilities, and people who live in rural communities. We must work to ensure that these people have access to healthcare, and it does not depend on who you are, where you live, or how much money you make. Recently, I had another patient who had already lost one child from a preterm delivery. In the subsequent pregnancy, her cervix began to dilate in her second trimester, so a stitch was placed in her cervix to try to hold the pregnancy in her uterus. A few weeks later, she broke her water and developed a severe uterine infection. She soon delivered a son who died in her arms shortly after birth from severe prematurity and sepsis. Nothing could have been done to save that tiny life, and instead he died in the loving arms of his parents. Many obstetricians, neonatologists, and pediatricians provide supportive and palliative care to neonates who could not be saved, and those that deliver from a medically indicated pregnancy termination prior to viability. We oppose legislative mandates of life-sustaining care that is futile for the neonate and that is not desired by the parents or their physicians. It is illogical to require that extreme measures be taken on neonates that are not yet viable and have no chance of reasonable survival. When these tragic circumstances occur, patients need access to sound and accurate medical information and have the freedom to exercise their best judgment in decision-making for themselves and their families. And physicians should be free from the fear of criminal prosecution for honoring these decisions. These bills are not based in medical science and are an unwise, unsafe political intrusion into the practice of medicine.
Thank you, Dr. Chase.
Please reject these bills. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Chase, for your testimony. Any questions of this witness? Seeing none, next witness, please. Hello, welcome to House Judiciary. Would you please identify yourself? You have two. Hello, anybody there?
Is that my job?
No. Okay.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Hey, welcome to House Judiciary. Would you please identify yourself? And you have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
My name is Michael Heller. I live in Gloucester, Rhode Island. And I want to offer support for the pro-life measures to protect preborn babies.
Well, thank you, Michael, for your testimony.
You're welcome.
Next witness, please. Hello, welcome to House Judiciary. Please identify yourself. Up. Hello, welcome to House Judiciary. Please identify yourself. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. This is Alan Poon. You heard from my wife earlier today. Again, thanks for allowing me to speak in support of HR 5572. Nancy and I have been married for 42 wonderful years. Unfortunately, she was diagnosed with ALS in 2018. ALS is fatal. It has no cure, and as progression ravages the body, inexorably bit by bit. As Nancy's physical condition steadily declines, I've taken on the role as primary caregiver. It hasn't been easy to see such a vibrant, active, and strong person slowly lose so much of how she defined herself. However, as difficult as the past few years have been, we know what awaits us would be much worse. Towards the end, Nancy will be cognizant yet totally paralyzed and kept alive by ventilators and feeding tubes. I ask you all to try and visualize that state and to ask yourselves what decision you'd make if you had a choice to continue to exist like that or to choose another path. The key concept here is choice. The bill before you enables proven terminally ill individuals to make informed choices regarding end-of-life decisions. It is a well-crafted, well-thought-out piece of legislation with critical safeguards that ensures patients with terminal diseases like ALS can leave this world on their own terms, with dignity, free from suffering, free from pain. It's one of the last things they'll be able to control on their own, and they should have the right to do so. This bill has the support not only of Nancy and me, but also of our 2 wonderful adult children, as well as Nancy's 3 sisters and mother. Much of the opposition to this bill deals in hypotheticals and extreme potential abuses. Nancy and I are dealing with a harsh reality. I can assure you that hospice care, pain management, and palliative care provides little comfort for someone dying of ALS. As difficult as it would be to imagine life without Nancy, the thought that we would be keeping her alive against her wishes would be even more unimaginable. My family encourage you to practice incredibly caring, compassionate, and humane. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, and I think I can speak for the whole committee. Our hearts go out to you and your family and your wife especially. So thank you for your heartfelt testimony.
Thank you so much for allowing me to do it. Appreciate it.
Next witness, please. Hello, welcome to House Judiciary. Please identify yourself. You have 2 minutes, and please proceed.
Hi, my name is Monica Leandri. I'm from North Providence, Rhode Island. I would like to support all 6 of the bills that protect the unborn. I would also like to oppose H5572 and speak on that one. There are so many reasons why this bill is bad law. First, there is nothing compassionate about killing someone or helping someone kill himself. The word compassion means to suffer with. You show compassion to someone when you walk through their struggles with them. Killing them shows a blatant disregard for their humanity. If someone is suffering, then we should do all we can to eliminate that suffering without eliminating that person. Although there is some suffering in the dying process, much of this pain can be and should be alleviated. We should put our efforts into increasing and improving palliative care. Assisted suicide laws get passed because we tend to think that someone needs to relieve their suffering. However, most people who actually choose assisted suicide do it for other reasons, most often fear of loss of autonomy. Not even actual loss of autonomy, but fear of it. Suicide is a bad response to fear. Today, many elderly people believe that they are a burden to their families. They actually contemplate suicide for this reason, because they have learned that to be old is to be a burden. That's a message that our society is sending, and that's a message that this bill is sending. We need to pass laws that protect all people, not push them to suicide. When you can legally kill anyone, no one is safe. I'm getting older. As I approach my natural death, I don't want to have to worry about whether my doctors will actually try to care for me. I don't want to worry about whether my insurance company thinks my life is worth the cost of treatment. Giving some people the choice to kill themselves will ultimately force that bad choice on the rest of us. And we know that suicide by young, healthy people always increases when suicide for the dying is made legal. Please show your concern for others by voting against this horrendous bill. Simply put, this bill puts each one of us at risk. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next witness, please. Hello, Dan, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. I was put on the list, Representative Agello, on the, I guess, expert witness list.
That's correct.
Okay. So thank you for this opportunity, and good afternoon then. My name is Dan Diaz, and I am Brittany Menard's husband. My wife, Brittany, died on November 1st, 2014. She was only 29 years old, and Brittany experienced a gentle dying process only because of the option of medical aid in dying. Yes, my wife utilized the very program that you are discussing here today. I am testifying in support of HB 5572. Brittany was determined to live as long as possible. She endured an 8-hour brain surgery, and we researched every treatment option that was available. Unfortunately, the cancer was growing aggressively, but this program allowed her to truly live the time that she had left and then experience a gentle death. Brittany's case received significant attention. You might remember her story because at the time we had to move from our home in California to access Oregon's law. Had we stayed in California, that brain tumor would have continued to torture her to death. People in Rhode Island deserve better than that. No one should ever have to leave their home like we did. With 72% of the population nationwide agreeing with Brittany that a terminally ill individual should have this option at end of life, I hope the members of this committee reflect that support from your own constituents. Furthermore, as a Catholic, I take great pride in the fact that 70% of Catholics nationwide also agree that this option should be available to terminally ill individuals who qualify. Church leadership is opposed, and that's fine. They can have that position. But the people who sit in the pews, the congregation, they support this legislation, realizing that a terminally ill individual working with their physicians, their family, and within their own set of spiritual beliefs is how a person should navigate their own end of life. The advances of modern medicine are truly remarkable. However, modern medicine cannot control an individual's pain and suffering at the end of life in 100% of the cases, period. Any assertion by anyone that they can control suffering in all cases, that is simply not true. That statement is reckless. I will line up dozens of physicians, nurses, hospice care workers to refute such an arrogant claim. That paternalistic view of a doctor telling a patient when you've suffered enough and then hooking them up to a morphine drip as they die a terrifying death, Brittany refused to accept that. And as a side note, feel free to ask me about the medical practice of palliative sedation because I've seen that play out firsthand as well. Brittany was already dealing with pain that not even morphine could control. Dilaudid is 4 times stronger than morphine, and she was on some pretty hefty doses of Dilaudid. The nausea, the vomiting, the inability to sleep, for days on end, the seizures are what terrified her the most, and those were becoming more intense and more frequent. What was coming next as the tumor continued growing, she would go blind, stroke, paralysis, dying stuck in bed as a suffering mass with tubes coming out of her. Brittany said, "I will not die that way. Why should I be forced to? Why should anybody be forced to?" So on November 1st of 2014, within 5 minutes of taking the medication, she fell asleep very peacefully. Within 30 minutes, her breathing slowed to the point where she passed away. That is the gentle dying process that this program affords an individual. That is not how her dying process would have gone if that tumor would have continued to run its course. The opponents' campaign is based on fear. They use inflammatory words like suicide and euthanasia in their attempt to scare legislators and the public. To be clear, this very protective option for terminally ill individuals, this does not result in more people dying. This simply results in fewer people suffering. And just to correct the record of a previous caller who said that very few physicians participate in this program. In California last year, there were 246 physicians who participated. because they refused to abandon their patients to endure a horrific dying process. Those 246 physicians they prescribed, they wrote 618 prescriptions. So if you just straight line that, that's about 2.5 prescriptions per doctor. This is very judiciously put into place. Regarding that terminology, and I'll just finish with this point, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. But you've heard me use the term medical aid in dying, and that is accurate. The reason I bring this up is because the opponents insist on using the term suicide because their hope is to invoke fear. Suicide, euthanasia, physician-assisted suicide, those are not applicable nor appropriate in describing this medical program. Brittany wanted to live. A suicidal person wants to die, or they think they want to die. That brain tumor was killing Brittany, and of that she had no control. But this program simply afforded her, or anybody in Rhode Island, if they're in her predicament, afforded her to take a bit of control about how her final few days on this green earth might play out. She was not depressed, despondent, or making irrational decisions. All of those being the characteristics of a person that is suicidal. Using that term suicide is pejorative and inflammatory. And lastly, this is not a pro-life or a pro-choice issue. A terminally ill individual that applies for this option is not deciding between living and dying. The option of living is no longer on the table for Brittany. The only thing Brittany gets to choose between is two different methods of dying. One is gentle. The other would be filled with the continued unrelenting pain. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are.
Thank you, Dan, for your very compelling testimony, and I'm sorry for your loss. Any questions of this witness from any member of the committee? Again, thank you for your testimony. Next witness, please. Hello, Teresa, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you so much. My name is Teresa Cody, and I appreciate the opportunity to share my viewpoint in opposition to H 5572. If this assisted suicide for terminally ill patients is legalized, it's not hard to imagine that the criteria for terminal illness will expand in a few years. In Oregon, diabetes is listed as a disease for which patients have received assisted suicide. And in Canada, which legalized assisted suicide and euthanasia in 2016, the criteria has rapidly expanded to include people with mental disorders. I also want to respond on the insurance issue that was brought up before, and the incentive to reduce health care costs is a driver. When assisted suicide is legalized in the context of the U.S. healthcare system, it immediately becomes the cheapest treatment. And the woman from Compassion Dying, I think her name was Lisa, had said that the legislation is patient-driven, and I believe Representative Knight had stated that the 2-week time frame is too short for insurance companies to get involved. However, that may be true for patients seeking to end their life, but the issue is for patients who want to live and want to have treatments. If insurers deny or simply delay approval of life-sustaining treatment, patients can be steered toward hastening their deaths. And this is the case. With a case in Canada, there was a resident, his name was Roger Foley, had a fatal neurological disorder, and he was denied independent living services, but he was offered assisted suicide and euthanasia by his hospital instead, and that was driven by the insurer. And it's also true in Oregon, where there is evidence that patients, including people with disabilities, are being denied treatment and offered assisted suicide instead. There was a woman in 2008, 64 years old, who was fighting recurring lung cancer, and her physician had prescribed Tarceva to extend her life, and the insurance company denied it and would not cover it.
Excuse me. Thank you for your testimony. Your time is up.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Next witness,
All right.
please. Hello, welcome to House Judiciary. Please identify yourself. You have 2 minutes to testify. Please proceed. Nobody there?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Hi.
This is hello. This is Terry Plant from Providence.
Hi, Terry. You have 2
hi.
minutes. Please proceed.
Yeah. This is regarding Bill 5582, Baby Born Alive. I feel this is a bill of hope. An infant born is a human person and entitled to all the medical treatment and care needed for their survival. And if we don't have reverence for these precious human lives, we deny our own humanity. We become expendable and easily discarded. I praise the doctors who take their oath seriously in saving lives of these babies and not withholding the necessary treatment. And I commend the representatives who sponsored this bill and others that protect all human life. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Next witness, please. Chris, who was that last one? Terry something? Oh, Teresa. Okay.
Julie?
Is she on? Julie, are you with us? No? Hello, Julie? Okay.
The next time there's a break, I have a letter from a guy who's a disability rights lawyer in Oregon.
Oh.
That I
Oh, they might have this woman. I think she's on. Okay. Representative Agello, did you have a letter you wanted to read?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair McEntee. I have a letter from the Executive Director of Disability Rights Oregon in support of 5572. And in view of some of the comments about this law allowing the targeting of the disabled, I'd like to read it. It's very short. My name is John Junedef. I am the Executive Director of Disability Rights Oregon. I have held this position since 1991. DRO is the protection and advocacy program for Oregon, providing legal-based advocacy for individuals with mental and physical disabilities throughout the state. I have been a licensed attorney in Oregon since 1976. Our staff includes 10 other attorneys, paralegal investigators, intake specialists, benefits planners, and support staff. DRO is mandated under federal law to investigate complaints of abuse or neglect of individuals with disabilities, including inappropriate actions taken to hasten the death of an individual. In the years since passage of the Oregon Death with Dignity Act, DRO has received very few complaints from disabled Oregonians about the act. All of the complaints we have received have focused on the concern that the act might discriminate against persons with disabilities who would seek to make use of the act, but have disabilities that would prevent self-administration, thereby denying these persons the ability to use the act. The complaints have been from disabled people who can't use the act. I'm paraphrasing there. He goes on to say, DRO has never, to my knowledge, received a complaint that a person with disabilities was coerced or being coerced to make use of the act. Yours very truly, Bob Jundeff, Executive Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Agello. Next witness, please. Hello, next witness, please identify yourself. Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes, please proceed. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes, please proceed and identify yourself.
Okay, thank you. This is Sharon Huber from North Kingstown, and thank you for this opportunity. I am asking for the 5865 to pass, Pain Capable Unborn Child Protection Act. The reason I wish this is because, first of all, I believe life begins at conception. And in Abby Johnson's movie, Unplanned, when it tells about her story, she had supervised or arranged thousands of abortions. And then one time they had a staff shortage, and she had to go in and watch on the sonogram a live abortion, and she saw visibly the child was pushing back, pushing away from the tools, the instruments, and the vacuum suction, and she knew that that child was in distress and pain because it was pushing away as it was vacuumed out. It's just pure logic that I have seen sonograms of children that are clapping inside their mother's wombs. They certainly have all their senses. They develop gradually, but definitely by 20 weeks, a child can feel just about everything. There is pain, so I'm begging you to put aside any of your preconceived notions and just say, yes, this is a good bill to pass because we need to protect these children from this pain at 20 weeks and beyond. In 2019, when the Judiciary Committee codified the Roe versus Wade thing, that was an unlawful switch to a committee that had not heard testimony. And when that was signed into law, going against the rules and laws of the Senate, God sees what we do. And
thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you very much.
Your time is up. Yes.
Okay, bye.
Next witness, please. I guess everybody's out on a Friday night. Hello, welcome to House Judiciary. Please identify yourself. You have 2 minutes to testify. Proceed. Hello? Doesn't appear anyone's there. Hello, welcome to House Judiciary. Anybody on there?
Hello, Vice Chairman.
Craig. Welcome to House Judiciary. Finally, a voice and somebody I know. Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed. And nice to hear from you.
Thank you so much. My name is Craig O'Connor. I am the Rhode Island Director for Policy and Government Relations. for Planned Parenthood of Southern New England. I have submitted written testimony, so I'll be very brief. Planned Parenthood of Southern New England strongly opposes House Bills 5037, 5552, 5582, 5865, and 5996. These are extremist bills aimed at restricting access to abortion in Rhode Island. They are out of step with the mainstream and would create dangerous barriers to health care for pregnant people in our state. These proposals are simply a way to mislead the public on the safety of abortion and to use inflammatory language to further the agenda of those who oppose individual freedom and bodily autonomy. As I mentioned, I have submitted written testimony on particular each of the particular bills. I would like to draw attention to my submission on House Bill 5552, one of Representative Perez's bills. It includes a demonstration of how harmful that legislation will be using case studies out of the state of Nebraska. The final thing I would just like to say is, most medical organizations are strongly opposed to these types of bills. I would like to quote the American Medical Association, which says that they strongly condemn any interference by the government or other third parties that cause a physician to compromise his or her medical judgment as to what information or treatment is in the best interest of their patient. These bills seek to stigmatize safe legal abortion, shame those who seek abortion care, and criminalize physicians and other healthcare providers. Rhode Island took a great step forward in 2019 by passing the Reproductive Privacy Act. We cannot go backwards. I humbly ask the committee to reject all these bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig, for your testimony, and thank you for hanging in there. Next witness, please.
Julie.
Hello, Julie. Are you with us? Hello, Julie.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you so much. So this is concerning the assisted suicide bill that's being presented, and I just wanted to present the story of my mother and my family. In 2008, she was diagnosed with terminal breast cancer. It had spread all over her body and into her bones, and the prognosis was pretty grim. And her situation would be one that would qualify for this bill. And the advocates for the bill would argue she should have the right to end her life so as to avoid suffering and not to be a burden on her loved ones. But I would say that it would cause us, her family, to have suffered greatly for the rest of our lives. Our duty as a family was to cherish her life, bring her hope, and help her to live as full a life as possible until death should take its place. Of course, always offering hope of treatment and palliative care when needed to ease physical suffering. If she would have given in to despair and chosen assisted suicide, which, again, she would qualify under this law, we would have lost 8.5 years of the most fulfilling time we spent with her, even with the great challenges that we all faced together. She would have missed graduations of her grandchildren, all the holidays that happened, and the birth of 2 of her great-grandchildren. One was 3 days before her death. And she brought joy to our hearts. She spoke against this bill actually in 2015, I believe it was. And her words to the representatives at that time was, I don't need your help to die, I need your help to live. And she was honestly terrified of this bill. It made her feel that there were people in the state that didn't feel like her life was worth living to the end. And that if she gave in to despair, which she did at one point, that she could take her own life. She died October 23rd, 2016, having breathed every breath possible, and she made our lives better for it.
Thank you, Julie, for your testimony, and I'm so sorry for your loss, but I'm glad you had the extra time with your mother.
Thank you.
Next witness, please. Welcome to House Judiciary. If you would please identify yourself, you have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair McEntee. I'm the Reverend Dr. Donnie Anderson, and I live in Providence, and I'm here to testify in support of House 5572. I especially want to thank Rep. Agello for her commitment to easing unnecessary pain and suffering. In over 4 decades of ministry, I've witnessed many people in the process of dying. For some, death comes quickly and peacefully, while other folks die a long and agonizing death. I love life and try to live every day to its fullest potential, but I know one thing beyond doubt. Someday, I'm going to die. I hope my death will be peaceful, but suppose I'm diagnosed with a disease that I know is going to mean a long, agonizing death with no hope of recovery or ever getting better, just that tomorrow the suffering will be worse than today. Who should decide how much suffering is right for me and my family? The state of Rhode Island or me? A decision of such consequence should be mine and mine alone. You have the power to give me that option, in consultation with my doctor, to mercifully determine the time and manner of my passing, or to deny me such relief and condemn me to pointless and needless suffering. I realize that you may hear testimony from some of my Christian siblings that say passing this law is somehow contradictory to God's desire for us. I see no such prohibition in the Bible. Please do not superimpose someone else's religious beliefs on me. Please grant me the dignity of my own decision in one of the most consequential moral and ethical decisions I might ever make. Thank you for hearing my testimony, and I urge you to pass this out of committee and onto the floor for a vote.
Thank you, Reverend, for your testimony. Next witness, please. Welcome to House Judiciary. Please identify yourself. You have 2 minutes. You have the floor.
I am Lisa Church from Smithfield. I oppose House Bill 5572 because it places our most vulnerable populations at risk of grievous harm by self-administering medication to induce death when they need care and support. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Lisa. Next witness, please. Welcome to House Judiciary.
Yes, hi. This is Carrie Young. How are you?
Good, Kerry. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Okay, great. Thank you guys for allowing me to speak tonight. I basically wanted to testify briefly against the assisted suicide bill 5572 and just say that I'm in favor of all of the wonderful pro-life bills that are being discussed tonight. Something that's really struck me as this hearing has gone on, and I'm, watching it from home on Capitol TV, is that it's interesting to see that a lot of the same representatives who are either co-sponsors or in favor of the assisted suicide bill are also a lot of the same legislators that are sponsors of the pro-abortion bills in the past. And I'm not saying that as an attack, and I know that, and I'm not saying that anybody has ill intentions, and I think that actually there's a lot of, although misguided, I believe, compassion involved, and a lot of these bills, even the ones that I disagree with. But the common denominator in a bill like the assisted suicide bill, and it is suicide, it is hastening death, it is causing death, is really disrespect for life. It's a devaluing of life. of the time that we're given here on Earth. And it's a disrespect ultimately for the author of life, who is God, who really is the only one who should be able to decide when life begins and when life ends. You know, when you look at and again, and I don't mean to attack anybody. I know that there are a lot of compelling stories, and there is a lot of suffering that goes into a lot of these diseases that are incurable. I just wonder why a lot of these legislators have so much empathy for the pain, which they should, for dying, but then no compassion, seemingly, for the unborn children who are ripped apart in the womb through abortion and experience excruciating pain as well. I wanted
Thank
to
you
just
for your testimony. Your time is up, but thank you for your testimony. Next witness, please. Hello, William. Are you with us?
Yes.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. Advocate assurances of strict guidelines for assisted suicide remind me of something the wife of a local strip club owner once said. "It's a convent," she said, referring to her husband's club, using a metaphor suggesting strict discipline. Not sure whether or not the club changed hands, but news surfaced later that an underage stripper was used there at the so-called convent. No, not so much for strict guidelines. I think I would rather look for insight on this to a line in John Updike's novel Couples, which said that killing, once let in, leaves its bloody boot prints everywhere. If we allow terminal illness as an excuse to kill someone today, what's the reasons to kill others metastasize tomorrow? The terminally ill today, the diabetic tomorrow. So let's treat pain and depression and not kill those in pain or the depressed. Let's make pain management education more available to physicians. Instead of legalizing the killing of the terminally ill, let's give family members standing to request injunctions to prevent their loved ones from being killed, and legal standing to bring lawsuits against those who assist in the killing of their loved ones. Let's say a big fat no to more killing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, William. Stay on the line. Chairman Corvese wants to speak to you.
Okay, thanks.
Rep. McKenna?
Hey, how you doing, Doctor?
It's a pleasure to hear from you, and it was a very interesting perspective that you gave, and it's nice to see that you're still fighting the good fight.
Thank you.
I would have been remiss if I had not pointed out that this was a former colleague of ours on the line. So have a good evening, and thank you for that interesting perspective.
Thank you so much, Doctor and Rep. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Corvese. And I am remiss in not recognizing you as a representative, but welcome, and thank you
very much.
Your advocacy for what you believe in.
Thank you.
Next witness, please. Welcome to House Judiciary. Please identify yourself. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Okay. My name is Faustino Manuel Rocha III. I am a lifelong resident of Rhode Island. I am responding to the registration and input from citizens of Rhode Island, and I approve of all the bills that promote pro-life. I am especially supportive of the bill that would stop abortions for babies that could feel pain, and especially for babies that were tried to be aborted, but it didn't work. And I believe in that case, the parents tried to terminate the pregnancy. It didn't work. That's the end of their input. From then, the doctors should take over the HIPAA and should do everything in his or her power to support that baby. And the parent should then have to sign a form where they have no longer any rights to the child that lived, and then we can keep the child alive just like any other preemie.
Thank you, Stephen, for your testimony. I believe was that your name? I'm sorry.
No, my name is Faustino.
Oh, thank you for your testimony.
You're very welcome. Have a great day.
You too. Next witness, please. Tom? Hello, Tom. Are you with us?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Yes. My comments are very brief, but I will tell you they're sincere. I can't even imagine the Rhode Island State Legislature approving a piece of legislation that would in any way not protect the unborn person. Okay? I can't say it in any other way. To me, abortion is murder at any stage of pregnancy. And I just want to urge each of the legislators to please think about the unborn person, what they could become, the advantages they could bring to this country when you take your vote. So I just thank you for the opportunity just to say that.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for your testimony. Next witness, please. Hello, welcome to House Judiciary. Please identify yourself. You have 2 minutes, and you have the floor.
Hi, my name is Margie Ryan. I live in South Kingston, Rhode Island, and I'm calling in strong support of Bill 5572. I have supported this bill since its initial inception. I believe every Rhode Islander with a terminal illness deserves the right to direct his or her medical care with his or her doctor's assistance in order to die with dignity. This bill and its passing is now much more personal to me. My dear friend of over 40 years is currently living with ALS. Nancy was the first caller in support of this bill today. She's a lifelong Rhode Island resident. She taught special needs children for over 30 years and was diagnosed soon after retiring. If this bill isn't passed, Nancy will be forced to leave her home and her family and friends to move to a state that will respect her choice to die with dignity. There are, as we've said, as someone noted before, there's 10 states that respect one's choice to direct their medical care and die with dignity. There are also another 13 states currently studying their own bills. I beg you to search your souls to find a way to support this legislation. You too may find yourself or a loved one with a terminal illness and will understand the importance of passing this bill so that all fellow Rhode Islanders are given the choice. And when I hear people talk about suicide, this has nothing to do with suicide. Suicide, people that die with suicide have a choice to live or die. My friend Nancy has no choice. She is going to die, and she's going to suffer, and there's no need for that in 2021. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Margie, and thank you for sticking up for your friend. Your loyalty is appreciated, I'm sure. Thank you for your testimony. Next witness, please. Hello, welcome to House Judiciary. Please identify yourself. You have 2 minutes to speak. You have the floor.
Hi, my name is Kevin McDevitt, and I live in Warwick. I and my entire family are very much opposed to the bill 5572 for assisted suicide for many reasons. In the interest of time, I'll just discuss 2 of those reasons. First, racial justice. This bill harms people of color, as African Americans and other people of color have less access to high-quality health care and therefore will be subject to a disproportionately higher percentage of deaths. If you stand to support racial justice, you must vote no on this bill. The second reason to vote against this bill is doctors aren't always right. Here's a personal story. My mother at age 90 was diagnosed with terminal cancer in October 2019, was given 3 months to live by the doctors, and was placed in hospice. If this bill was passed at that time, her life may have terminated in October 2019. Now let's fast forward to today. 19 months later, April of 2021, my mother is thriving. She's 92 years old, lives independently in her house in Warwick. She is still driving and has celebrated countless joy-filled events in those 19 months, and is very much looking forward to 2 more great-grandchildren being born this spring. The moral of that story, the doctors aren't always right. So if you support racial justice, and if you treasure lives such as my mom's, please vote no on this bill. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Kevin. Next witness, please. Welcome to House Judiciary. Please identify yourself. You have 2 minutes. You have the floor.
Yes, hello. My name is Ellen Lee, and I'm writing out of grave concern that this bill, H5572, will lead to very negative repercussions for the aging population, disability community, and for society at large. While the aim may have good intentions, unintended consequences, including deaths, are likely to occur. What is needed is for palliative care to be provided to all who could benefit, to help people live with dignity, not for government to legislate who should die and when. This is indeed a slippery slope, and care must be paid to prevent tragedies. It is essential to make care available so that people can receive services to help maintain independence and provide palliative care such that people truly have choices. As long as there are health inequities and medical bias against marginalized community, for example, racism, ableism, and ageism, then we should not be passing laws that leave people vulnerable to suffering discrimination in health care. The majority of people in Black and Latinx communities oppose this type of legislation. All of the major national disability rights organizations are also against assisted suicide. Abuse of elders and people with disabilities is too large a problem to ignore, and these communities are vulnerable to coercion, sometimes directly, other times more subtly. We must not make it harder for people with suicidal thoughts and histories who also suffer to stay alive when they are subjected to this confusing message. We need to take care of each other, not reinforce through legislation that we're a burden to society as we age, become disabled, or are dying. Let's not make the choice to die become a duty to die. People should not die because they are made to feel a burden. And let's not pretend that there have been no issues in other states that have passed similar legislation. They cannot report on the problems because the state is not there to assess when things go awry. For example, bad reactions to medications. I just want to say there are many valid reasons, and we need to listen, including the American Medical Association is against this. So let's pay attention and not proceed with passage of this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellen. Next witness, please.
Eileen Papa.
Hello, Eileen. Are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you. I will be quick. My name is Eileen Papa. I live in Warwick, Rhode Island. I'm calling to support House Bills 5037, 5552, 5582, 5865, and 5996. But I truly would like to strongly oppose House 5572. You can wordsmith the title whichever way you want, but this is not compassionate care. It is murder. I work in the death care industry. I have funerals and burials every day, all day. And when you're dead, you're dead. And I could go on with all kinds of examples, but you're putting vulnerable people at risk for abuse and coercion. The elderly population right now, and people who are handicapped that sometimes can't speak for themselves, you're putting them in a very vulnerable situation by allowing this. And I know a lot of this has to do with healthcare funding. It's cheaper to let them go than to pay for a treatment that could save their life or at least extend it. And I strongly oppose this. And very quickly on national radio the other night, I heard someone speaking about Rhode Island is the most anti-life state in the country. It's an embarrassment. So I strongly oppose, and I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next witness, please. Hello, Stephen. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Yeah, I just wanted to, as a taxpayer, voter, wanted to voice my opposition to the bills that you'll be considering. Is there anything that you needed to know about me?
No, just your position. That'll do.
Yeah, that's all. I live in Bristol, Rhode Island. I'm a member of June Speakman's area.
Well, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you very much.
Next witness, please. Hello, welcome to House Judiciary. Please identify yourself. You have 2 minutes. You have the floor.
Okay, my name is Edward Meyer. I live in Middletown, Rhode Island, and I'm a resident, and I'm totally against the government making decisions on life, killing babies, and then this other thing that they've just come up with is suicide, putting people, that older people, allowing them to see a doctor to have them put down. I'm totally against that. I don't think the government should be doing that, and it's against our church, the Catholic Church, of taking people's lives. And so I consider it a sin, and it's just the wrong way to go, especially if you want a country that will take care of the poor and the most vulnerable, which is children and old people. That's what I have to say. Thank you very much, and I pray that you vote for life. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Edward.
Bye-bye now.
Next witness, please. I hope everybody's out there supporting our local businesses tonight. I don't think anybody's answering. I mean, we're skipping all over the place. Hello, David. Are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
All right, thank you so much. I would ask all of you, urge you to vote in favor of 5037 and 5582. I believe that's the Born Alive bill to take care of the children. In case they're born alive, an abortion occurs. If it comes out alive, the doctor takes care of this child as he would any other child. I really encourage you to support that bill. The other two that I think of is 5865, pain capable, and also 5996, the heartbeat bill. And really, the attitude that I have, we hear a lot about following the science in this era of COVID. And of course, you should. We all have great respect for scientific research and knowledge. And I ask you to consider the scientific truth of this child in the womb being a unique human being according to science that you will read in any medical books that will say it's a unique human being. It's not mom, it's not dad. And to give that child the respect that you would give anyone else. I understand that we're still waiting for them to receive what they deserve, which is personhood, but you can still give them respect as we await that legal thing to come along. And finally, as a Christian, I ask those of you who are also Christians or who consider God important in your life to remember his command to love your neighbor. And who is the weakest of our neighbors but a child in the womb who is poor, has no clothes, has no money, has no shoes, and in fact, has no voice. So please be a voice for these children, which is we were all in the womb at one point, and I ask you to give them the same love and respect that you wanted and that you deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Next witness, please. Hello, Anna, are you with us?
I am, yes.
Welcome to House Judiciary. You have 2 minutes. Please proceed.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Anna Whalen. I'm an OBGYN, and I'm a maternal fetal medicine fellow at Women and Infants Hospital. And I am here to talk to you quickly to ask you to not support House Bill 5037, the Born Alive Act. I think that the biggest problem I have with this is that there are many medical guidelines and discussions by ethicists regarding, physicians who face life-threatening and life-preserving circumstances. And I think that, again, it's really difficult for and important that the government not intervene between the decisions made by family and patients and their physicians. And patients who are undergoing situations where they're, having a baby that is born alive that is not going to survive are already going through a very difficult time, and it is not the government's job to insert themselves here. This bill is vague, it's not drafted well, and could potentially criminalize doctors who are helping women and families who are already in really tragic circumstances and are struggling enough as is. And I would just ask you not to support it. It is my job. I have spent now 11 years working in the medical field, and it is my job to help to maintain medical ethics, which includes beneficence, which are doing the best that I can, and balancing that with do no harm, and doing that all by, working with patients to make patient-centered decisions. And I would like the government to stay out of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your testimony. Next witness, please. Hello, welcome to House Judiciary. Please identify yourself. You have 2 minutes. You have the floor.
Hello, thank you for taking my call. My name is Jean Ernster from Barrington, and I'm calling to oppose House Bill 5572, the assisted suicide bill. The risks of dangerous unintended consequences of this legislation outweigh the benefits to society. For the sake of the 1% of citizens requesting it, I urge us to concentrate on more effective palliative care measures. Some of the unintended consequences that I've been reading about, one has to do with economics. Once assisted suicide was legalized in Oregon as a medical treatment option, insurance companies started to deny cancer patients the life-sustaining and pain-reducing treatments and started offering inexpensive life-ending lethal doses instead. A couple of examples I read about are Oregon residents Barbara Wagner and Randy Troop. Also, regarding mistakes, Oregon resident Jeanette Hall was given a 6-month prognosis and inquired about assisted suicide drugs because it was legal. Her doctor encouraged her not to give up. And 11 years later, after her prognosis, she is still happily alive. And she would be dead if the doctor had agreed to the lethal dose. She says that assisted suicide should be illegal. And the last example of abuse I would like to talk about is state of Washington assisted suicide statistics for 2018 show that of the 267 people prescribed the lethal dose, 203 were ingested, 29 patients, and the lethal doses are still unaccounted for. Those drugs could kill unintended people. And the last thing I'd like to mention is that overall suicide rates increase in states where assisted suicide is legal. Case in point, in the state of Oregon, the general rate has elevated, especially among veterans. Does that mean my time
Yes,
is up?
thank you, Jean. Your time is up, but
could I
thank you
just-
for your testimony.
One other thing I want to say is I do support the bills H5865, 5579, 5037, 5996, 5582, 5552. Thank you so much for taking my testimony.
Thank you, Jean. Next witness,
All right,
please.
have a great day.
You too. Anybody left? So no further witnesses? Well, that concludes the testimony on House Bill 5037, 5552, 5579, 5582, 5865, 5996, 5572. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Well, everybody have a great Friday night. Stay safe and get vaccinated. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend.